In today's video, we're going to go through an athlete that we've worked with and one drill that you can use to get rid of that hooking where you reach up behind your back. Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss any of it. You're going to want to see how you can improve your throw and get rid of that right away. Max Wardell, overheadathletics.com. Got a video here today with an athlete that's been coming to us recently for therapy, but also for his throwing biomechanics, and we've noticed some things in his throw that were contributing to his injury and will kind of, or even causing his injury actually, and we'll kind of go through these in this video. Here's the first time he came to us to throw, and if we watch it, we'll see that he ends up with the ball too far outside his center of rotation. His elbow is low, so his elbow will be forced to go up through the throw, which can cause some malalignment of the force vectors. And whenever there's force vectors going two opposing ways, you create a pivot at the center, which is more torque, more stress, more strain. So the ball is too far away from his center of rotation here. His elbow is too low, and that causes him to go out and around as he goes up against gravity and drags the ball behind the plane of his shoulder. So there's a lot of inertia in this throw where he's dragging it from behind his body. I also want to make mention of something that was brought to our attention on social media where someone said, you can't compare before with an athlete not throwing hard to an after where they're throwing through a more complete throw or they're throwing harder. And you absolutely can, and we actually have no choice when we work with injured athletes. This particular athlete, if we put him on the mound and had him do a full throw at full speed, we would just be exacerbating his injury or furthering the mechanism of injury and resulting in more tissue derangement and damage. So we have no choice when an athlete comes out of therapy and they're on a surgical protocol or they're on a return to throw protocol after an injury, what we do with their before video. Often that's irrelevant anyway. The biomechanical faults that are present at a lower intensity, at a lower speed, are often exacerbated as you increase the intensity, percent exertion, and speed of the throw, because the body is going to follow the pathway of least resistance. So when you increase the speed, the body has to follow the pathway of least resistance even more than it does at a slow speed because it wants to move fast. And if that pathway of least resistance is an inefficient throw that happens as the result of how they've learned to throw or some other physical limitation, they're going to exhibit those biomechanical faults in a greater, more pronounced view later on. So with this athlete, one other thing I wanted to show you was actually how he hooks the ball back. And that's what we're going to go over in this video, because we did a lot to teach him to get his arm higher, ball in closer to his center of rotation as he rotates around his rib cage, but get rid of that little hiccup there where he curls the ball back. We actually used a couple different facilitation and inhibition techniques, and this one is often the most effective for these athletes. So you can actually see this fault better in this video. And as he initiates his throw, you see how he brings the ball backwards and he kind of hooks it up with his wrist in deflection there. And what that results in, and this is obviously a much better throw than the initial throw. This was the next time we worked with him, but you can still see that he wants to push the ball up and away, and he side bends quite a bit and still wants to drag that ball through, even though this is probably 10 times better than the other throw. But you can see right there the hooking of that ball. So one thing we use all the time is we'll actually put an athlete in a position of a fault and have them initiate out of that position. Immediately, if you look at this video, you can see that we actually had him hook the ball. He hooked it with his wrist in this starting position, and we had him initiate in the opposite direction. So we had initiate into wrist extension. When he moves forward, he starts in that position where he ended up before, and we have taught him to go the opposite direction. And you can see he comes out of that flexion into extension, and he's not hooking the ball right now. He lifts it slightly higher, he gets to this position, and then actually look at how much closer the ball is to his center of rotation, how much less side bending he has here, and it totally alters the way the stresses are applied to the shoulder and elbow farther in the throw, because we were able to change one thing in the beginning. And he gets farther out in front. This athlete actually told me, I've never released the ball out in front like that before. And that's something that can happen without ever telling the athlete to get their chest forward, just by altering the position of the ball and where the ball is when they lift it. And that's something that I see a lot on the internet, is people saying, well, you need more power through your lower body, or you need more explosiveness, or you need to do this drill. Often all you have to do is change how the athlete moves the ball, because the goal of the throw is to throw the ball. And if the body perceives that it's in a position that it has to throw the ball now, or the brain perceives it's in a position that it has to throw the ball now, the body's going to make that happen. So if the athlete's in that inefficient position and the ball's in a position where it's ready to be thrown, it will do it, regardless of how strong you are, how powerful you are. Now, those are all great things that you need, but often athletes do have that capability, but they're not able to do it simply because they've never been taught, or they've never internalized how to properly position the ball and lift the ball in the beginning of the throw, and what they do through the acceleration phase. Just one more time, I wanted to show you this, and then I'll show you in real speed, so that this is something you can try out if this is something you do. And he goes and extends the wrist as he's moving forward. And he didn't do this on the first throw. It took him 5-6 throws before he learned it. One more time in full speed, or maybe I'll do it twice in full speed so you can kind of see the difference here. And then I'll show you one more time with the hooking, just so you can see what it looks like in full speed here. You see, it's a different sequencing of the throw, which can result in what we saw, which was injury. If you like this throwing drill, make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, because we really want to grow this community and get as many people on board as possible, so we can spread information and training techniques that you can use to not only improve your performance, but also protect you from injury, which has been the goal of the OAI since day one. So subscribe, thumbs up, and if you have any questions, drop them in the comments section, and I will see you in the next video.